I'm Francisco.
And I am Laura Cantu, and welcome to Live Mondays.
Yeah, so usually, as you know, I'm here doing these live streams by myself. On Mondays and Tuesdays, I do the English lives at 3 p.m. Laura and David usually take care of the 1 p.m. live streams in Spanish. However, we wanted to switch it up a little bit. We have a very important and very a relatable topic or something that a lot of parents find very pertinent. So I decided to invite Laura so we can talk about both of our experiences. We got a different path that we followed towards college, but it ultimately ended with a full tuition scholarship acceptance at the end of the road. So I thought it would be a good time to talk about my experience, but also invite Laura so that she could talk about her own experience.
Yeah, so today, as you can see, before I say that, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel so we can continue to do these live streams every Monday. And, you can stay up to date with all of our content. But yes, today we're talking about our experience, how we got a full accepted to college with full tuition scholarships. And this is going to pertain especially to high school parents and just parents in general, even if you have children in middle school. These tips are going to help you. We're going to be talking about not only what we did, but what our parents did. The most important, things that our parents did throughout the college admissions process that helped them help us get accepted into the right colleges with the right amount of scholarships, that allowed us to be successful in and out of the classroom. So definitely stay tuned for that. Remember to let us know where you're joining from. Remember to ask any questions in the chat and to stay, throughout the whole entire presentation, stay till the end, because at the end of the presentation, Francisco always answers questions. I've done these live streams here and there, so I will be answering, Francisco and I will be answering the questions that you ask in the chat. So make sure you ask those questions because we want you engaged and we want to help you, okay?
So just a couple of housekeeping items. First, we're gonna give it a few more minutes for more families to join, more parents to join, because we do wanna make sure that we cover and that we help as many parents as possible. Just so that you know, as you can see right now, whenever you comment, whether you're doing so through the YouTube comment section or through the Facebook comment section, we have the ability to share that comment on the screen. As you can see, Lilia Cavazos is saying hi with a waving emoji. Hello. As you can see, we can share those comments. So at the end of the presentation, once we've gone over, the material that we already teased a little bit about, which is, how to get to college with scholarships. Once we're done with that presentation, all the questions that get accumulated through the chat, as Laura mentioned, we'll go back, we'll scroll through them, and we'll be answering them, okay? So that is a little bit about the logistics of how the presentation is going to go. And as we're waiting for more families to join, and as I wait for more of you to comment your questions or telling us where you're watching from, I do want to invite you all, before we move any further, to the free training that we have prepared for you. It's on the 6 steps to go to college with scholarships. That is a presentation that I wrote the script to, I recorded. Laura, with her amazing editing skills, David and Laura helped me with the post-production, and we finished it just in the middle of October, so it's fresh of the oven. That free training, that presentation, that will be even shorter than what this live stream is going to be, and it's sort of like a catch-all presentation for the whole admissions journey and every step along the way that you must follow, because we make this current YouTube and Facebook live streams very topical. This free presentation in the link in bio is more of a general overview, so that in case we don't get to answer your questions and you want a little bit of a better overview of the whole process, you can go ahead and click the link in bio below this video, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, to register for that.
Yes, as you can see, the video is in this video's description. The link is in this video's description. And if you're watching in social media, the link to this free training is located in the link in our bio. If you're watching on Instagram or TikTok, that is where you can find the link to this free training that is going to help you a lot as a parent. It's going to help you understand what are the 6 most important things that you should be on top of with your student, that is going to help them, not only get accepted into college, get accepted into the right university that is going to allow them to have as much financial aid that is going to let them, go to college and, be comfortable enough to go to college. Because a big part of the, receiving a college education is being able to afford it. And, so that's what we try to focus on in this free presentation, in this free training. All right, make sure I see also that I want to remind you that David is in the chat monitoring this presentation. As you can see, he's saying hello. Please let us all know where you're joining from here in the chat. Make sure that you are also staying up to date or just staying on top of the chat, looking at it. Maybe you will ask a question and we are giving out the information that we are going to present in this presentation. And if you ask something and we don't answer it yet, you might get an answer on the chat, via David.
Before we get to answer your question. So that's, again, a little bit more about the logistics. Ask your questions. We'll get to them at the end, but do keep an eye out for that chat because you might get your answers quicker that way before we get them to them, because we might be going on a tangent, talking about the topic. And I see that more people have joined. Yeah, we tend to go on a little bit of tangents, but just for the people that have just joined, Laura, if you want to share the slide with the title of the presentation. Again, today we are going to be sharing our own experiences on how we got accepted to college with full tuition scholarships. And not just us, but now we have Invest College Aid, over 1,000 families that we're helping and that have replicated the results, that have gone to college, the right fit college, with as close to a full ride as possible. And it's a replicable process that we work with families to achieve. So we'll be sharing information directly taken from our program to hopefully help you out in this what month are we? November. Of 2022. So full college application season is in full swing. So yeah, hopefully this reaches you right on time and the algorithm puts you the right audience in front.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? How fast time is going by. I feel like the year just started. I feel like we were just talking about the summer, back to school topics, how to prepare for college admissions, and it's already November. A lot of schools already had their early deadlines. I think tomorrow is one of the last early deadlines, November 15th. A lot of schools are going to have those early action, early decision. And those students who applied early are going to be finding out next month if they got accepted into their early action, early decision schools, or some students who applied to rolling admissions. If you have any kids that are applying rolling admissions, some of them might have already heard from schools. I know that UCF, some students are already finding out. Penn State is another school that does rolling admissions. So this is a crazy time, and I feel like the time is just flying. So definitely stay up to date with this information. Listen to this. If you have kids in 9th grade, if you're watching this right now, trust me, it's going to go by super fast. So you want to always be on top of everything, right. Be on top of information, because things can change, things don't change, but it's always important to know these things. So that's something that a lot of parents ask us is, when is the right time to start? Or should I just wait until my student is in their senior year of high school? And our advice is always the earlier the better, because, you want to know a lot of the processes, a lot of the information early on, so that maybe when you get to that point, for example, if your student is in 9th grade and you want to help your thinking about, practicing for standardized tests, or when is the right time to take the SAT or ACT. Yeah, maybe they still have 2 years, so they actually have to take it in their junior year, but it's good to know information, it's good to know resources early on so they can start studying. Or if something changes, like in the past couple of years with standardized tests, a lot of schools started to be test optional. There's going to be the SAT. It's going to start being online in I think next year, in a couple of years. Not online, but it's going to be in computers instead of paper and pencil. So things are always changing. Things are always evolving. So definitely make sure that you are tuning in every week and, listening to all the advice that we have for you.
Yeah. And I guess with that being said, let's get started with today's presentation so we can give you even more advice on how we got accepted to college with full tuition and scholarships. So let's get started.
All righty, let's get started. All right, how we got accepted to college with full tuition scholarships. These are 3 tips for high school parents. All right, the first piece of advice that we have for you, or the first thing that we want to cover in this presentation, is extracurricular activities and how important they are in the college admissions process. With extracurricular activities, our advice is encourage your student to find extracurriculars that they love. All right. And we will break that down in just a second. But, a lot of parents ask us, oh, my student doesn't play a sport, or my student is not artistic, so they're not going to be able to get any scholarships. And the cool thing about extracurricular activities is that they come in all, not shapes and sizes, but there's a lot of things that your student can do. Maybe your student is not an athlete or is not interested in doing anything athletic. That doesn't mean that that's it and they're not going to be able to get any scholarships, or that it's going to look bad in their application. That only means that they have to find something else that they are interested in and that they excel at. So it could be theater, it could be playing an instrument, being in the marching band, photography, videography, being part of the engineering club. My high school had an engineering club, and a lot of the students who joined that club were interested in engineering from an early age, since ninth grade. And that's what their big extracurricular was being part of the club, going to competitions. So there was also film club, there was debate. So there's a lot of extracurricular activities. And the biggest piece of advice that I can give parents is help your student find something that they love and that they're passionate about, because that is going to make the process so much easier. And it's going to make the process not only of finding it, or it's going to help your student just staying on track and staying motivated. Honestly, that's what we did. Our parents always encouraged us to find what we loved, and they just said stick to it, make sure that you stick with it, and you don't just kind of let it fizzle out. So something that they did was encourage us to find something that we liked. So Francisco found debate, I found theater. We swam, because that was something that we always did, swimming, since we were from a young age. But our extracurriculars, once we got to high school, the things that we liked, kind of we found what we really enjoyed eventually.
Well, and now that Laura has defined sort of the umbrella of activities that can be, that could define or satisfy the checklist or definition of an extracurricular activity. Again, anything outside of the classroom that a student dedicates time and efforts towards. I kind of want to move forward into the biggest question that parents ask us. And again, you could ask this in the chat, or you might be wondering yourself what it is that colleges care about the most when it comes to extracurricular activities. And I first want to go over this slide because it will help you a lot to answer that question. And then I'm going to go on another tangent to answer the question as to what do colleges care the most about seeing in a student. So first, an extracurricular activity should display an aspect of a student's personality that a standardized tests and transcripts cannot. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, if your student, is a very dedicated person to, I don't know, to giving back to the community, or he wants to study vet school, he wants to be a veterinarian when he grows up, or something like that. The fact that they're using their extracurricular activities to display that ambition, or to corroborate that element of their persona into their college application, will be very, very beneficial, because it relates to what they want to study when they get to college. And it is an aspect of who they are as a person and their character, and who they are as an applicant, that maybe might not be explicitly, demonstrated through a GPA, which is just a number, right? Your extracurricular activities are an opportunity to give admissions officers a better image or a better picture of who you are as a person, as an applicant, as a student, as a candidate, that, again, numbers of an SAT or ACT or a GPA cannot otherwise give them.
Exactly. Yeah. Extracurriculars, we mentioned in this slide, is a way for a student to display an aspect of their personality that, that when they submit their SAT scores, or when they show their transcripts that only really lists the classes that they took. Of course, that also tells a story, but doing an extracurricular can display a different aspect of the student's personality, like Francisco said, if it's animals, or doing something related to maybe what the student wants to study. Or even, let's say that the student is an athlete and they are part of the swim team and they eventually become the president of the swim team. Or maybe a student is in theater, and not only are they in the theater club and part of the organization, but within the club they are part of the board, and they become the treasurer, or they become the vice president, and they have different roles inside the club. They can talk about that in their application and say, well, not only did I love theater and I was part of the plays, but I was also in the more, I organized events, or I was part of the production side. Maybe I worked backstage during some of the plays, some of the shows, and it shows an aspect of the student's personality, that, their involvement or their leadership. So extracurricular activities are important because they show schools this, but also extracurricular activities, especially from a young age, they help a student, learn a lot of discipline, learn a lot of skills that are going to help them later on. I mean, like we mentioned, we used to be swimmers. We swam since we were like 6 years old. All of us did, my three brothers, myself. And even though I didn't go to college for it, my brother David did go to college. He got a scholarship to swim in college, an $8,000 scholarship per year to do this sport. So yes, you can get scholarships for this. But we all did it, and I always, every time I think back of where I learned how to be organized, or how kind of maybe organize my time, or just prioritize certain things in my life, I always bring it back to swimming. And when I started swimming when I was younger, and how I had to learn how to separate being an athlete and being a student, and just being a person and socializing with people. So doing an extracurricular activity, and we always encourage parents to encourage their students to find something that they like, because not only it can help them get scholarships, but also it teaches them skills that they can take with them and apply them in the classroom, throughout their personal lives. And it's a great way for students to learn a lot of things about themselves.
And just to go on a little bit of a side tangent, a lot of people ask us, oh, what's Best College Aid, or how did the idea come about? Well, as Laura said, we're swimmers our entire lives. And that's something that we're very grateful to our parents, because at a young age, they instilled in us that we should be disciplined, and that we should, you know, practice what we love, but also make sure to improve in our craft, which in our case was swimming. So we were very dedicated athletes. But then eventually, when it was time for us to get our first jobs, our summer jobs before college, and while we were in high school and whatnot, we all decided, my siblings and I, we all decided to be swim coaches. So at one point or another, every one of the four cantos was teaching little kids how to swim, and sort of seeing the way in which, teaching through a sport in our particular case, seeing the impact that you could have on a student who, we could have taught, I don't know, 100 kids, and one or two of them or three of them said that they were going to join the swim team after the lessons from the summer when they learn how to swim. Seeing the impact that finding someone at a young age and being able to point them in the right direction is kind of this very valuable thing, or this very rewarding thing, that eventually, when we started, this project, this family project, Best College Aid, was a big driving factor to try to get people to follow the right footsteps and to find what they love. So kind of tying it back to this presentation, more particularly to the point of extracurricular activities, it is very easy to display the qualities that a college cares about, which are leadership and duration. What role do you have in an extracurricular activity, and how long you practice that extracurricular activity for? It's very easy to display those qualities if your student is participating in an activity that they love, because they will stick around many years, and they will display the element of duration. And it will be easy for them to want to be as involved and have a long lasting impact, whether if they're interested in the Habitat for Humanity, or they're interested, I don't know, in climate change or something, and they start the environmental club at their school. If they are passionate about it, and you as a parent enable them to find that passion in their middle school years, by the time they're in ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, it will come easy for them, or to them, to go to all the meetings, or if they're in charge of recruitment for the club, to increase retention numbers, or to increase fundraising. All those things that a college cares about are going to improve. And something that's going to be tied into, again, this presentation is the fact that it's going to help them get merit-based scholarships. There's a lot of merit-based scholarships that are based on a student's extracurricular activities, whether they are sports, whether they are musical scholarships, whether they are whatever the case might be. There are a lot of private entities that have prerequisites for the applicants to have been involved in extracurricular activities. So in my particular case, when I was going to college, I got a private scholarship from Comcast called Young Leaders and Achievers Scholarship. And it was just simply based on the fact I qualified based on the fact that I had the merit-based credentials based on my GPA and standardized testing scores, but also because I had leadership positions within the organizations I was a part of. So again, it all ties in together. Finding what you love enables your student to easily be a leader within that organization, and then boom, could qualify for more scholarships.
Yeah, and even merit-based, those are private scholarships. Like there's colleges that offer institutional scholarships once they look at a student's application and they see their grades, but also what they did in high school. My college offered the presidential scholarship, which was kind of like a culmination of the student's grades, their resume in high school, their grades and standardized tests, but also something that they consider very heavily was the student's involvement and leadership, if they had leadership positions. And, something that I did in high school was I was the president of the National Honor Society. And I talked a lot about that on my application. And, that definitely helped. So not to keep repeating or beating a dead horse, but yes, extracurricular activities. Here's a little resume of what we just explained. Extracurricular activities, summary, they are great because they help students learn leadership skills and just a lot of other skills that they can apply in and out of the classroom. Another, benefit of practicing an extracurricular activity can be winning merit-based scholarships, whether it is an athletic scholarship like the one David, our brother, won, and he was able to swim all 4 years of college and basically get paid to swim, or the one that I received that was a theater scholarship because I did do theater in high school and I continue to do it in college. I auditioned for it, got a scholarship, or the leadership scholarship that Francisco won. There's a lot of opportunities, merit-based scholarships based on extracurricular activities. And finally, practicing extracurricular activities, being involved, can ultimately maximize the odds of being accepted into competitive schools or just the students' top choice schools or most of the schools on the students' list. So encourage your children to not only practice something just for the sake of practicing it. Remember, encourage them to find something that they love and something that they see themselves, doing not only for the 4 years of high school, maybe they can continue to do it in college and get scholarships to continue to do so. Anything else?
I think you covered everything for extracurricular activities. Do let us know. Again, just a reminder, if you do have a question, you can ask it, whether it's on the YouTube chat or on the Facebook chat. We'll share the question at the end of the presentation with the rest of the viewers, and then we're going to be answering it live. So if anything crosses your mind as we're doing the presentation, do not hesitate to ask.
Exactly. All right. So the next piece of advice, the second tip for our parents of high school students, or parents in general, is the following: financial aid forms. This is a biggie, and this is a huge, huge responsibility, that is mainly the parents' responsibility in this part of the college admissions process. We always talk about how going to college is a team effort between parents and students. And of course, most of the aspects of the college admissions process are going to be the student's responsibility, like getting good grades, going to class, filling out financial application forms, filling out those essays, writing those essays, and filling out the college admissions applications. But there are some aspects, some portions of the college admissions process that are mainly the parents' responsibility, or maybe the parents should take charge, because it does help a lot for the students, helps the students a lot. And this is one of them: filling out financial aid forms. Help your children fill out these forms and be with them. Maybe, you want to do it together. Maybe you want to do it for them, but just help them, because this is something very delicate, and this is something that could make and usually does make a big difference, because not only do financial aid forms like the FAFSA and the CSS profile, they guarantee financial aid, need-based aid, but there are schools that do require students, parents and students, to submit these forms to award institutional scholarships, or some state scholarships do require these forms. And we will get into that in just a second, but financial aid forms, very, very important. So let's listen up to this portion, this tip for you parents. All right, so let me move this. What is the FAFSA?
Yeah, so pretty much FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It's a form, you fill it out and it's filled out by students as early as their senior year of high school, and they fill it out for the following year, which would be their first year of college. And it gets renewed. You have to keep on filling it out every year, and it determines eligibility for student financial aid. However, it's not just for need-based scholarships. And here is something that there are misconceptions that we hope through these live presentations to tackle.
Yeah.
And one of the big misconceptions that people have in regards to filling out the FAFSA or CSS profile is that, financial awards are only given out on a need based on a need basis. So a lot of people, you probably have heard, and you can let me know in the chat if you've heard, the comment that, oh, my family makes too much money to qualify for any sort of aid or any sort of scholarship, so I'm not going to fill out the FAFSA because it's a waste of time, right? There's that aspect of it. And while you might not have demonstrated need, if your family is really, really well off, something that this mentality fails to address is the fact that, apart from the fact that that there's a whole methodology that calculates and takes into consideration, a lot of different things more than just the income to determine a family's financial need. It's the fact that merit-based scholarships that are based on a student's GPA, standardized test scores, leadership positions, that take into consideration a student's merit, those scholarships might have a prerequisite that is, did the student or did the family complete the FAFSA? Or did they complete the CSS profile? So it has nothing to do with your family's income. It has nothing to do with how much money y'all make, but it could very well disqualify you if your student or if you as a family do not complete these forms. So you would be doing yourself a huge disservice if you don't fill out these forms because you have that pre-existing, conception or idea that your family makes too much money for to qualify for any scholarships or financial aid.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And like we always say to our parents, it's better to be safe than sorry. And even if you think that you might not qualify for any federal aid, as Francisco just said, there are many other reasons why you and your student should be filling out this form. Now, I kind of want to go over the types of federal aid available once students fill out the FAFSA. Parents and students, not students, parents, help the students fill out this form. Well, this is obviously going to be that need-based aid. And once this form, the FAFSA is filled out, students will be, eligible to receive grants, work study, be part of the work study program, maybe get some federal loans, which are, the healthier loans. They tend to be the loans with the lowest interest rates. So ideally, if a student were to take out a loan because maybe they need to take out a small loan, or because sometimes, this is a whole other topic, but sometimes taking out a loan is not the end of the world. It could be, maybe it's this student needs to take out a smaller one, and usually the most what's the word? The healthiest loan is going to be a federal loan because of that.
It doesn't accrue interest while the student is in college, so it waits until the student graduates for the interest to start kicking in on the principal. So
yeah, exactly. So it's going to be the healthiest loan to take. But that is a whole other topic, a whole other conversation that we could have. And we talk about inside of Best College Aid. Our students get to have, all the information about all these types of financial aid. We do break that down. And the other type of aid that students could receive by filling out the FAFSA is federal tax credits, right? So these are the types of need-based aid that students could receive when filling out the FAFSA. And it's not the only type of financial aid. Like Francisco explained just a few minutes ago, there's a lot of other scholarships or other ways in which filling out these forms can be beneficial for the student. So definitely, if your student is a citizen, resident of the United States, or an eligible non-US citizen, don't think about how much money your family makes. Just think, oh, I qualify, fortunately. So I'm going to fill it out. I'm going to help my student fill it out. There's a lot of students in the US that maybe they're international students or they don't qualify for whatever reason. And, that's very unfortunate. So if you have this advantage, take advantage of this, this being able to qualify or being able to fill out this form and maybe having the opportunity to receive federal aid. So definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, and one of the last things that I want to say about this topic is something that we tell our best college age students all the time, which is at no other point in your life, if you're a parent in your student's life, would you have the potential to receive tens of thousands of dollars for 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes of work, even if it takes you a day to fill out the FAFSA and you have to do it, 4 times across the 4 years, fill out the FAFSA and CSS profiling. Let's say you don't watch the free presentation that is in the link in bio, you're not a member of Best College Aid, and for whatever reason, it takes you a lot of work and a lot of effort to fill out those forms, and it takes you a whole day, and you do that 4 times over for your students' college career. Those 4 days, if done correctly, could make you eligible for hundreds of thousands of dollars across, again, the 4 years of college, financial aid, and scholarships. So it's gonna be very difficult to find another circumstance in which you're eligible to receive so much help and potential awards for doing up to 4 days of work if it takes you a lot of time to fill out those forms. So if you do the cost benefit analysis, it's a no-brainer. It makes so much sense to just fill it out and then work backwards. Again, it's better to overqualify for scholarships and be eligible for a bunch of different scholarships than to self-disqualify by not filling out these forms.
Exactly. And now, again, for those of you who are just joining us, if you want to learn the 6 steps to go to college with scholarships to help your students get accepted into the right colleges with scholarships, or if you just want to learn, more information, because we do cover a lot of these topics that we're talking about in this presentation today in this free training, make sure that you click the link in this video's description. Make sure that you click the link in our bio to watch this presentation today and to get to know these amazing tips that could make a big difference in your students, college application process, and could help you help your student. Alrighty, so that was tip number 2. Financial aid forms. Basically, help your children fill out these financial aid forms and do it correctly, do it on time. It can make the biggest difference. All right, the third tip that I have for my parents is understand the admissions system. Team up with your children and work together towards understanding how the admission system works. Things, as I said, things have changed. Definitely things are quite different from when you went to college a few years ago, or maybe your family, your student is going to be the first person in your family to go to college. And even from a couple of years difference, things do change. So that's why it's important to stay up to date and to understand how the system, if it has changed at all. Things have changed a lot from when we were applying to college. I was applying to college 7 years ago. He was applying to college 6 years ago. COVID hit and it changed a lot of the processes of the college admissions application process. So definitely get familiar with the process if you don't have no idea of what is going on, or if you've never gone through it, or maybe if it's been so long. It's important to team up with your student and understand how the system works, because this is what helped us, the fact that our parents were so involved and helped us a lot, and what has helped all of our students, all of our members inside of Best College Aid most, if not every single one of our members their families, right? So we have parents asking questions, we have students asking questions, we have a whole community, and we see that teamwork. Not only do we see it personally in our personal life, personal experiences, but we see it every day with our members, with our families that we helped inside of Best College Aid, and it, trust me, it makes the biggest difference.
Yeah, I mean, something as simple as knowing, for example, that from when we applied to college to now, because of COVID, a lot of schools became test optional. Let's say if we want to roll with that example, back when we were applying, a lot of the schools that we applied to were not test optional. You had to send in your test scores, your standardized test scores. But now, because our students know of the changes that are happening and that there are schools that are becoming increasingly test optional, we teach them, okay, families, there's a strategy. If a school is test optional, you check their admission statistics, then you check your own admission statistics, but you take away, standardized test scores. If you are at or above those statistics without your test scores and your test scores are below, then don't send them or do send them. So again, these little things, these little strategies, being aware of them could be the difference between your student being a competitive applicant or having a little bit points, being a little bit less of a competitive applicant. So knowing the system and the way that it works and the way that you can leverage your students' strengths and weaknesses, it can be very, very beneficial to your students for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and that teamwork, that process of helping our parents, helping us, and us being also like having each other, because there were four of us, is what ultimately helped us earn over $600,000 in financial aid and scholarships. We all went through the process. What's funny is that all of us, we were back to back. So when Vidal was a senior, David was a junior, I was a sophomore, Francisco was a freshman. So we were all back to back, and we kind of had our parents' help. We saw, what our oldest sibling was going through. So we had that experience of learning from each other, of having our parents help us. And that's what ultimately, help us succeed and get accepted into the right colleges. I got into Marist College with a full tuition scholarship. Francisco was able to go to UNC Chapel Hill, as you can see back there. He's a Tar Heel, and Vidal was able to go to Florida International University and earn scholarships. And now he works at Univision Sports. So it was thanks to our parents' involvement and help that we were able to get to where we are today. So it's very important, and we definitely encourage that you try to help your students as best as you can. If you're a student watching this, talk to your parents, have that open communication with them, because there's a lot of processes that, yeah, maybe a student could do it alone and they could fill out the financial aid forms. But trust me, once there is that communication of maybe talking to your parents about, okay, I need to fill out this financial aid forms, I'm going to need for information from your tax returns, from your earnings and all of that. I'm going to need information that is personal to you for me to fill that out. So it's easier if there's that open communication and if there's that mutual help between parents and students, because that is only just one portion of the process. There's other things like maybe going on campus tours, college visits. Maybe if you do it with your parents, if you're doing it with your student, you can help them, give them a different perspective, or them better than anybody else. We always say, go, if your student is going to go on a college tour, maybe go visit some schools. It's good for parents and students to go together, because parents know their students better than anybody else, and they can be like, give them insight. Are you sure you're going to be happy here? You don't really love the cold, or you don't really love the beach, you don't really love the heat, it gets really hot here. You are not a fan of the city. Are you sure you want to be studying in New York City or Chicago? So there's plenty of examples that I can give you, but the biggest piece of advice that I can give you right now is work together. And if you want to start somewhere, if you want to, maybe you don't know where to start helping your student, parents, if you're watching this, you don't know where to get started, you can get started by watching this free training on the 6 steps to go to college with scholarships. Help your students get accepted into the right colleges with scholarships. These are the 6 steps that helped me and my siblings get over $600,000 in financial aid and scholarships. These are the steps that, thousands of parents and a lot of our members inside of Best College Aid have followed, that have helped them. And if you want to learn these free strategies, make sure that you visit the link in this video's description. Make sure that you visit the link in our bio so that you can register for this free presentation and you can get started and know where to go from, right? I think it's a great starting point if you have no idea, or if maybe you have some idea of what you're doing as a parent, but you maybe need a little refresher, or you just don't know where to start. It's the perfect place to start by registering to this free training.
Yeah, and just to sort of to go off what Laura said, we know that especially at this time of year, with again college application season being in full swing, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misconceptions. Actually, a reason why we do these live streams and why we hope to if you follow us on our social media platforms at Best College Aid USA, you'll see that we try our best to release information in the form of TikToks, of YouTube videos, Instagram Reels. The reason why we do this live streams are to combat that misinformation and is to help families who are lost, because at one point we didn't know how the process worked, and we were blessed that we eventually were able to flip the switch and to get help and our parent support and a bunch of outside support. We were able to dominate the process, but we understand that not everyone has that opportunity. So that is why we do this live streams on YouTube and Facebook on Mondays at 3 p.m. and on Instagram and TikTok at 3 p.m. on Tuesdays. But again, we understand that we can't possibly cover everything on these live streams. So that is why we have the catch-all presentation and the free training on the 6 steps to go to college with scholarships. Now, in the spirit of full transparency, at the end of the presentation, we do talk about the Best College Aid program, what it includes, all of the one-on-one support, the unlimited access to support on via chat or email, all access to our online course that supplements the support that we give. We also have pinpoint to, oh, you want to fill out that form, there's a tutorial there, there's a tutorial there. We also have access to our private Facebook group, our community of advisors and families. We have access to discounts to with partnerships like Dell Technologies, so for computer equipment for students, for their families. Publishing house RIA, the Research and Education Association, we have a partnership with them to give our students discounts for crash course books, and a bunch of other benefits. Again, we talk more about them at the end of the presentation, but the presentation, as Laura said, is a good first step in the right direction. Again, we do this and we're hoping that you've stayed, the 44 minutes that we've been on this live stream, giving you value, and that free presentation in the video description is again another way to give you even more value. And if after that you're not tired of hearing me speak and rant on about my explanations and you're interested in learning more about how to help your student, your kid, maximize their odds of acceptance, but also minimize the amount of money that they have to pay for college, again, by making themselves as eligible as possible for financial aid and scholarships, then if you're interested again in learning more about that, that's at the end of that presentation. We have a special discount again as a thank you for those who watch this live stream and go through the presentation and stay till the end. We do have a special discount at the end if you're interested in joining the full Best College Aid program. And again, I just wanted to extend that resource so that if you feel like you're lost when you started watching this and you're like, oh, what is this that got recommended to me on YouTube? At least now you know a little bit of a course of action, and then you can make that decision yourself. But those are the sequential steps. Again, registering for the training at the end of this, at the description of this video, watching that presentation, and then decide whether or not you want to join Best College Aid. Regardless of whether you decide to join or not, we will be still doing these live streams on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikToks at 3 p.m. Mondays and Tuesdays, because we understand that not everyone wants to join or can join, but we still want to give back to the community and sort of help out people the way that, we were helped by our parents and by outside, people during our process. So
exactly. So if you want to learn this free resource, don't miss it out. Take advantage of it. And that was all of our tips for you. Those were our tips for you on how to get accepted, how we got accepted to college with full tuition scholarships. Those 3 tips for high school parents. We're going to move on to the questions, some of the questions that you guys left for us. And I just want to say hello to some people that wrote in the chat. I see that Jenna is saying great presentation so far. Thank you, Jenna. Hi, you said hi, guys. Hi, thank you so much for joining and for watching us today. And as always, David is in the chat answering your questions. So yeah, thank you so much for that. And let's move on to some of the questions that you guys left for us. With our first question being from Julian M. Julian asked, what advice do you guys have for a student who doesn't know what to major in? All right, so this parent asked, what advice do you have for a student who has no idea or doesn't know what to major in? Do you want to take this question,
Yeah,
Fran?
absolutely. Yeah. So if you have a student who doesn't know what they want to major in or what idea they have of where they want to go to college, the best piece of advice that we recommend to our students in Best College Aid is to start by breaking down their non-negotiables, whether that is a specific region, whether that is a specific career interest. Again, it doesn't have to be a major. They don't have to know that they want to be a physics engineer or a marine biologist, but maybe they know that they have an interest in engineering in general or psychology in general. What branch of psychology? Psychology doesn't have to be that clear, but they have to have a little bit of an idea. And then based on that, on those non-negotiables, again, parameters such as region, climate, general areas of study, look for schools that satisfy those needs and that meet, the financial aid need met by the student, that they satisfy financial need demonstrated by the household. And then once you have that, you can make a list of schools that give you the option to further explore those career interests while you take your general course of study classes. And then you can have an idea of, okay, after taking these prerequisites for psychology or prerequisites for engineering, I realized that I want to go into this branch of psychology or into this branch of engineering. And then that can inform your major while not having to sacrifice studying somewhere that, would be a waste of your time and your money. So having that flexibility and making sure that a school offers all the potential courses of actions or majors that you would eventually be interested on would be the best piece of advice, while also not sacrificing having to pay for a university that doesn't satisfy your financial need.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, also, maybe if your student is young enough or just starting high school, something that could definitely help as well is extracurricular or community service. If like Francisco say, if they have an interest already in something, if maybe they don't know exactly, oh, I want to be a doctor or I want to be a dentist, I want to be a vet, but maybe they have an idea, a general idea. Maybe it's something in the field of medicine, or maybe it's something in the creative arts. Doing a summer volunteering at a hospital. I personally volunteer at a hospital because once upon a time I thought that I wanted to be a nurse, and I volunteered at a hospital for, it was I think 2 years, and I was actually stationed in the nurses floor, and I was helping them for maybe 2 to 3 hours every time I went in. And working there, volunteering there, seeing the environment actually helped me realize that that wasn't something that was for me, even though I loved it and it was a great experience being in that environment and hearing from actual nurses. I was like, you know what, this is not something that is necessarily for me. And I was able to figure out what was something that I wasn't going to be a career path for me. And then something that did help me eventually land on what I wanted to major in, which was media studies, was when I took AP Art, and there was a fundraiser at a local, not hospital, what's called museum, and we were designing stuff for kids to see at the event. And just taking that class and just working on design and computer design, making videos, photography, etc., that actually helped me realize that I really liked it. So it was doing extracurricular activities, mostly volunteering. So maybe if your student has an interest of what they might be interested in pursuing eventually, if it's being a vet, maybe they can volunteer at the local shelter, or maybe if there is a vet's office that takes in volunteers. Maybe they could go in and do a couple of volunteering, per month, or volunteering once a week, and seeing that environment. Or maybe if they're just completely lost, they could just try different things, start trying different things that they haven't even thought about, and they might find what they like, or they might find what they don't like. So this is a good question to have early on, and something to kind of experience, and things to look out for. So if your student is young and doesn't know what they want to major in, don't panic. There's time. And my first piece of advice would be, maybe getting them involved in community service, volunteering, and seeing different things that could, teach them different things, and teach them what it is that they like, and what it is that they don't like. And maybe if they're closer to going to college, what Francisco said, once they're looking into schools and seeing all those available majors and available programs, if they maybe have an idea, if it's something related to psychology, or something related to medicine, they could start looking at schools and what programs they offer. All right, so that was a great question. That was a question from Julianne that asked us. She sent this question: what advice do you guys have for a student who does not know what they want to major in? So hopefully that was helpful for you. And our next question that we were sent, we got this question from Jackie Stella. Jackie was asking us, how can I start helping my ninth grader prepare for college applications? I don't want to be too pushy. All right, let's read that again. How can I start helping my ninth grader prepare for college applications? I don't want to be too pushy. All right, this is a great question. And it's actually something that a lot of parents say, or something similar. I don't want to be too pushy, or my student doesn't talk to me. How do I approach this? And we know, it can be hard sometimes having that open communications. We don't want to, sometimes the way that a teenager's brain works is like, oh, I tell you to do this and they do the opposite. So we understand it can be challenging. And it's good that you are aware that you don't want to be too pushy, because that is a good thing to think about, because you don't want to be too pushy when you're trying to help your students, especially when they're teenagers. So the first thing is, to start getting involved and start knowing and getting start understanding the college admissions process, which clearly you are doing by writing this question, by being here. And any parent that's watching, if you have students and you don't know what to do to help them, the fact that you're here and you're trying to learn, that is already such a big step forward, and something huge that you are doing, and something that is going to make a difference. So the first step, trying to look for information, you already did it. And a way that you can start helping your student, you mentioned that your student is in ninth grade. Well, start talking to them about what they want to major in eventually, or what type of college they're looking for. Trying to get that idea of going to college. What type of school? Is it a school in the city? Is it a school maybe in a college town? Maybe take them on a college tour. It doesn't have to be a huge multi-state tour, but maybe take them to a local state school, just so they can see the campus and start seeing like, holy moly, this is a beautiful campus. This is somewhere that I see myself attending. That definitely left a big impression on me when this was when I was in middle school. My parents took us to the University of Florida just to visit this school. And I remember seeing this school and saying, wow, one day I want to go and study in a place like this, seeing the students just walking around, sitting on the field, and just going to class, drinking coffee. Just being on that campus was very encouraging for me. And I was like, I knew that I wanted to go to college one day. And literally, that was it. I don't know if you have anything that you want to add.
Yeah, so the question being, my students in ninth grade, how can I help them, or how can I start preparing my students without being too pushy? I would say something that is very important and underrated by parents of especially younger students who are finishing up middle school, who are starting high school, is the whole concept of enabling them to pursue what they care about, what their passions are. As odd as it might seem for parents of students who are currently, younger, for example, one thing that that we've seen an increasing number of cases. And again, I'm speaking from the experience of having helped thousands of Best College Aid members. There are students who talk about their passions being, I don't know, twitching or live streaming or video games. And as though now in the from the perspective of older parents who might not necessarily relate to, how is that going to be conducive to helping my student get to college. Video games, like, that's something that you do recreationally and it might be like a waste of time. However, now as the process shifts, and as we talked about earlier in the presentation, you know, there are colleges that are giving out scholarships for esports, or that have, an esports club or program that this could eventually, help a student, make a decision as to whether or not a college is for them. I know that there are students whose whole extracurricular activity is having a YouTube channel where maybe they do tutoring for something that they are a particular topic that they excel at. So the reason why I'm sharing these examples with you as a parent, specifically answering the question as to what you can begin to do to help your student, is not necessarily your job is not necessarily to be the judge as to whether or not an extracurricular activity is worth the student's time or not, but rather an enabler to help them pursue that activity. Because if they do want to devote their time to, who knows, being a YouTuber who makes educational content for their math classes, or whatever it is that they do, whether they want to volunteer at an animal shelter, whatever it is that they are interested in doing, the best thing that you can do, especially with a kid in ninth grade, is to allow them to dip their toes in the water at each of those respective areas of interest, so that they can decide whether or not they are in fact going to commit to that area of interest and pursue, extracurricular activities, gather experience, and maybe they can make a decision as to, oh, that's something that I want to do, maybe study communications down the road, or this is not for me, as Laura said with her internship or experience volunteering at a hospital. That is probably the best piece of advice. Allow them to dip their toes in as many waters as possible and stick to what they like, so they can reap all the benefits.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I hope that answer helped you. I know that it can be challenging talking to your students or your children sometime, but I mean, as I said, the fact that you're here right now and you're watching this live stream, trying to get knowledge on the topic, it's already a first step. And if you want to learn more technical information, more tips that can help you out, I definitely encourage you to submit, to register for this free training that we have prepared for you and prepared for anybody that's watching. This is a free training where we detail 6 steps to go to college with scholarships. We, talk about things that you can do to help your student get accepted into the right college with scholarships. So definitely encourage you to sign up, to register. It's completely free to watch this training, and the link is in this video's description, or if you're watching on social media, is the link in our bio. Okay, so definitely that is going to also be super helpful for you. All right, so next question that we got was from Leslie Perez, and Leslie was asking, I have heard that colleges really care about extracurricular activities. I am just worried because my son doesn't practice any sports. All right, so this is something that we kind of covered in the presentation, but let's read that question again just for anybody watching. I have heard that colleges care a lot about extracurricular activities. I'm just worried because my son does not practice any sports. All right, so as we mentioned throughout this presentation, extracurricular activities, the amazing thing about them is it's not only sports. And yeah, there is this misconception that it's only, to go to college and get a scholarship, students have to be athletes, student athletes. That's the only way. And no, there's plenty of opportunities where, an extracurricular can lead to a merit-based scholarship. So personally for me, it was theater. I joined the theater club in my high school, my sophomore year, and I started auditioning for shows, and I fell in love with it. I worked really hard. My senior year of high school, when I was applying to colleges, one of my search criterias when I was looking and applying and, trying to get into universities, one of the search criterias was applying to colleges that had theater scholarships for students. So that was a big priority for me. I was able to add those type of colleges to my list, and I auditioned for their theater programs, and I eventually got a theater scholarship to the college, to Marist College, and I was able to continue to do theater for the 4 years of college. So definitely, it's not only sports. So don't worry. Maybe your student has other talents, that are not sports related. There's, extracurriculars that are huge that can also have a lot of amazing benefits and a lot of scholarship opportunities. It can be marching band, it can be debate club, it can be, being part of SGA. Francisco was part of SGA, being part of an organization like the National Honor Society, maybe being part of a club, or starting a club in your school, or your student can start a club in their school. So there are a lot of opportunities of extracurricular activities that can, allow students to get merit-based scholarships. So don't think that it's only sports. Like I said, there's plenty of opportunities out there.
Yeah, and just to, again, recapping the question, what can my student do in regards to extracurricular activities? I'm worried that they don't practice sports. Well, as Laura said, extracurricular activities, any activity outside of the classroom that your student devotes time, effort, and responsibility to. And my biggest piece of advice when it comes to extracurricular activities is it's always following the two pillars of leadership and duration, whatever activity it is that your student is pursuing, enabling them to be leaders within that organization, whether that is through a role, a leadership position, president, secretary, vice president, whatever the case might be, or leadership through quantifiable results. If they are if they're in charge of recruitment, or they're treasurers, or they're in charge of fundraising, applying to college under the premise of my recruitment under my leadership increased, I don't know, 200%, or fundraising doubled under my tenure as fundraising chair, whatever the case might be. Having those quantifiable results is very, very valuable for colleges whenever they're considering a student's extracurricular activities and their leadership within that activity. And the second pillar is that of duration. As we say once and once and once again, we've repeated this a lot through these presentations and to our members. Duration is how long a student has been a part of an activity, right? Not just joining a bunch of different clubs or organizations during their senior year, but rather devoting their time earlier on, after you as a parent enabled them to find that activity that they love pursuing, swimming, chess club, marching band, whatever the case might be, for many, many years, shows a level of commitment and devotion and discipline to an activity that is viewed very favorably by admissions officers. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, 100%. And, again, if you want to learn more information, more tips that can help you, that could help your student, definitely register for a free training. Link is in our bio or in this video's description. And you are going to, learn more tips that can help you out a lot. All right, so the final question that we have for you is from Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson asked us, my son is in 7th grade. He loves playing baseball. Do you think this is a sport that could help him get scholarships? All right, so again, Peter is asking that his son is in 7th grade and he loves to play baseball. Do we think that that is an activity, a sport that could help him eventually get scholarships? And the answer is
yeah. I think it can help you in many, many dimensions. There is the dimension of admissions and just, again, the elements of leadership and duration displayed through having practice and activity throughout many, many years is something that just adds a bunch of points to an applicant in terms of whether or not they're going to be accepted. However, you asked specifically about scholarships. And yeah, there are many ways in which an extracurricular activity, not just baseball, but in this particular case, you gave the example of baseball, can help you get scholarships, because they could, number one, help you qualify for private scholarships, regardless of whether or not the student will be practicing that sport in college. There are scholarships that might require a student to have practiced a specific sport for many years, or for baseball, or whatever the case might be. Private entities could have students apply to those scholarships based on their extracurricular activities, again, baseball. However, if the student does want to go down the route of being recruited and getting scholarships, at the institutional level from the school, having played baseball, having that repertoire of experiences and performance could help them be recruited and then get an athletic scholarship to college, as David did our brother did when he applied to college, and as many of our Best College Aid members get.
Yeah, that is something that we cover inside of Best College Aid. We have a whole, tutorial dedicated to the recruitment process because, yeah, of course, extracurricular activities can be more than just doing practicing a sport. But for students who do practice a sport, they do have to go if they want to be recruited by a college and they want to get scholarships from that university to play a sport at that college to continue to do it. They do have to go through a recruitment process. So your son, who you say loves baseball, and if he were to continue to do it in high school, because he's just in middle school, if he were to continue to do it in high school, there's going to be a specific process that starts, it starts from now because he has to get better and he has to practice and keep practicing, keep being part of a team. But also there's a specific more technical process that involves contacting coaches, researching schools, maybe going to visit the schools, and this is all part of the recruitment process, and that is going to start later on in high school. But yes, to answer your question, there are opportunities for your student if he loves baseball, which is a very important part of practicing an extracurricular activity. If he already loves it and he's already doing it and he wants to continue to do it, then keep doing it, keep encouraging. And you as a parent, it's amazing that you know that he likes this, and just encourage him and be there for him. If this is something that he wants to commit with him and, help him. And eventually this could translate into a great scholarship from a great college. So definitely keep the good work, and excellent question.
Yeah. And that was, yeah, I guess that was the last of the questions that we received on the Facebook and YouTube chats. Before we say goodbye for today's presentation, I do want to give you one final reminder that if you want to learn more beyond, the past hour and 7 minutes that we've been here answering your questions and doing our presentation, definitely do check out that link in bio to watch our free training on the 6 steps to go to college with scholarships. Again, the link is below this video. Registration is completely free. We go over those tips. We talk about the Best College Aid program. And yeah, I mean, just looking at it from the point of how much it would cost, which is zero, and the potential benefit that you could get, which is tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars across 4 years, it's a no-brainer to just check it out, even if it's just out of curiosity. So do go ahead and click that if you are interested. If not, I will see you all again next week
Yes.
on Facebook and YouTube at 3 p.m.
And tomorrow.
And tomorrow on Instagram and TikTok at 3 p.m. if you would like to join us on that presentation.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, parents, for watching us. Remember to, oops, wrong button. Remember to subscribe to our channel, to like this video, comment, and just share this with any other parent. Maybe share it with your students after they get out of school so they can watch this presentation and learn, information that can help them. Share this with other parents. Trust me, our goal is to help families, help students, help you. That we want to facilitate this process for you and show you that there are opportunities out there, show you with our example, what we did and what we've been doing for the last almost 3 years, helping other families. Our goal is to just make this process easier and help as many students, help as many families send their kids to college and be able to afford them, because the opportunities, the resources are out there, the opportunities for students to be able to afford college. There's this huge misconception that college is expensive and your student cannot go to college without falling into debt. And we're trying to, show people that there are ways to help your student go to the right university, help your student afford college, and help your students be successful. So definitely share this channel with somebody who might need it, and just stay tuned. If you watch our every presentation, and if you stay till the end and you want to have that more one-on-one help and get all the benefits that are included inside our Best College Aid membership, great. But if you just want to also follow us and see all of the free content, all of the content that we have here in our social media, that's also great. Make sure that you are tuning in, that you are liking these videos, because that also helps us reach more people, and we want to reach as many people as possible. Alrighty, so that was it for today, guys. Thank you so much, parents. Hopefully this was helpful, and again, join us tomorrow for our English live stream in Instagram and TikTok. And if not, see you next week. Francisco will see you again next week on Monday at 3 p.m. And if you want to register and learn these steps, make sure that you register. Link is in this video's description. And that's everything that I got for you. My name is Laura Cantu.
And I'm Francisco Cantu.
And I will see you again soon. Have a great, great week.
Bye-bye.